Hello, my name is Clayton Burrows, and this is a brief introduction of Curve Builder 4.0. So this is a video series that's going to be included with the files when we release them, and it's just a walkthrough explaining what the tool does, what its purpose is, and then showing some examples. They're going to be broken up into multiple videos so that people can quickly go to the topic, find the topic that they're wanting to look at without having to dig through a bunch of all one video. So without any further ado, I'm going to go introduce what is Curve Builder, what is a dimensionless curve, and why dimensionless. So the first one, what is Curve Builder? It is a dimensionless forecasting utility for water floods and CO2 floods. And this is programmed with VBA. It uses Excel. The reason we chose to go with Excel is because everybody is reasonably familiar with Excel. A lot of people are very comfortable operating this environment, and it was doable to code this using VBA. Not simple, but it was doable. What is a dimensionless curve? This is simply a plot of cumulative oil production versus cumulative injection that is normalized by hydrocarbon pore volume. And so why dimensionless? If you think about this, you'll note this is independent of time. So, if we were slow to develop a water flood, and then all of a sudden we hit full development, it's got a big rate time curve, and we want to use that as an analog. Well, it's kind of hard because there is this early time lag that really isn't representative in shape of how the flood is performing. So it may make that difficult to use that flood as an analogy for other development floods later on. Oh, because there's no time, these dimensionless curves, it just removes that issue. You're literally looking at just how much did I inject and how much did I get out. It notably is also independent of size. So you may have a big flood with hundreds of wells, or you may have a small flood with just a few wells. Well, because it's dimensionless, you can still compare, see how those floods are performing relative to each other. So what does Curve Builder help to accomplish? We're going to touch on each one of these points but throughout the series, but I'm going to go through them real briefly here as well. Data conditioning. So when you're doing one of these, you're going to have a lot of different patterns in your water flood, and you're going to have to go through and sift out the primary production data, separate out the secondary production data, and if you're in a flood, separate out the tertiary data as well. So Curve Builder will do that automatically for you. We have a report from OFM. You can just go here. It's already set up. Those are the variables it's going to grab. You just load that straight into Curve Builder, and it will separate everything for you, which may not sound like much, but when you're doing 20 or so of these patterns, they can get a little tedious and eat up a lot of time, literally just managing your data. So then you also have the option to do a base case forecast. So this is what is used to calculate the incremental wedge. All your calculations, your incremental values are from the base case. So if you want to forecast it in Curve Builder, you can. If you already have one built, or maybe somebody else already has one built, your manager wants to use a very specific one, you also have the option to load that in. We'll go through both scenarios in the examples. And now when you get to the heart of Curve Builder, you have the option to draw dimensionless curves, which is where you always start off. The first step of using the tools, you always draw a dimensionless curve. You can draw the rate time curve, but we also have a lot of ARPs, exponential regression utilities that you can use as well as some other tools that I'll introduce when we get there, so that they're introduced in context. And then also an automated transition tool. So if you're doing incremental work, like we did here looking at the slaughter field in 2016, you basically forecast a do nothing case and you forecast a do something case. With some tools we have, you can automatically tie those together by specifying, okay, I don't think I'm really going to see a response until late 2018, because we're not even going to do the work until early 2018. And then even at that, we'll be doing this for a while, so we won't see full response for over a couple years. Well, it will transition. It will build a shape that transitions from your base case curve into your upside curve. And then after all this, you're forecasting a flood. You have lots of curves. You have, rather than saving 30 different files, we have a central type curve management system built into the tool that will basically encapsulate all of your work into about 25 columns of data that can be loaded and unloaded and loaded back into the utility as the user wishes on command. And so this encapsulates work and prevents having to have, like I said, 30 different files floating around. It just simplifies the entire process.